We live.
We are live, yes. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you are having a wonderful holiday. Well, I hope it's holidays for you. It's my second week of school holidays, so it's been really, really busy. And today we've got Manni and Darren. Darren is a surprise. I wasn't expecting him to join. From Two Dads and a Kid, but I'm so glad that you are both here today. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that we are doing a 250 Rand Takealot Voucher giveaway. So join in the discussion in the comments and you'll be entered and we'll choose a winner at the end. So Manni and Darren, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourselves, that would be awesome.
Fantastic. Thanks for having us, Lynn. So I'm Manni and this is my husband, Darren. I'm from Swaziland, but moved to South Africa a few years ago and started a blog, Two Dads and a Kid, more to, journal our journey into parenthood, the challenges that we would encounter, what the whole process was like. We're based in Johannesburg. We've been married for a while now and we have a wonderful 8-year-old son.
Beautiful.
I think you captured it nicely, yeah.
Okay, beautiful. And I just want to tell you guys that the reason why I asked you specifically to come and join me on my channel is that I love your Instagram, and I'm not really into Instagram like we discussed a few days ago. But I just love the love. When I look at your page, I see the love between you both and your son and everything. And it just makes me like all gooey. So yeah, I'm so excited to have you on my channel today. And anybody that wants to check out Manni's blog, you can go to twodadsanakid.com. And also a reminder, I do write a blog post. I try to do it within a few days, but it's holidays and I'm tired and lazy and ... So I'll get it up as soon as I can, and I'll include all of Manni's links to social media there as well. So from my side, I am not gay. I am a parent, and I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. And I do have a gay sister, and I have a gay brother-in-law, and I have a gay uncle. So while I haven't faced many challenges myself, I feel a lot of pain when I see the derogatory comments that I see towards people that are gay. And in fact, I don't know if I told you when I went to go get my prenup done when I got married here in Saldanha, we went to see a lawyer. My husband arranged everything. We just had to go in and sign. And he was explaining, they have to explain the stuff. I mean, all the legal terms and all of that before you sign. And then he started going on about how marriage is given by God and it's for a man and a woman only. And then he started going into how it's not for gay people and how this is a sin and burning in hell. And I don't know, I was so taken by shock that I just sat there for a few minutes, like with my mouth hanging open. And I didn't trust myself to say too much because I would have, Anyway, I just said to him, my sister's gay, my brother-in-law's gay, my uncle's gay. And he just shuts up. I think I had my crazy face on, the face that when my husband sees it, he comes inside and he says, please sit down, honey, and I'll bring you some chocolate. And I think he must have seen that face, and my husband probably gave him the eyeball to like, please don't. I get very upset. I take it very personally myself. So let's get into the first thing, because this is not about me. I want to know if you can share with everybody, what are the challenges that you face as gay parents?
I think, first of all, when we started the whole adoption process, we parents by adoption, finding the right agency to actually want to work with us in the adoption process was initially a challenge. I find that nowadays, talking to other friends that have since adopted, that the process seems to be a lot easier, and there are a lot more agencies that are open to engaging with same-sex couples to adopt. So from when our journey started, that was the first hurdle that we had. but fortunately, we found an agency that would work with us and did not discriminate. And yeah, that worked out well. Since then, let me see what other challenges that we've had is more like from heterosexual individuals, being male and or female, both wondering if, as a same-sex couple made up of two males, if we would be able to actually raise a child. Would we actually know what to do? I think we even had individuals coming to us a year in and like, are you still okay? Are you still surviving? Are you still coping? Where's the woman influence in this? So those we've got a lot of those kind of questions.
And if I can just add at this point, a lot of it was also about, you know, doing mundane things like changing a nappy or heating a bottle of milk, things like that. And it was almost they assumed that two men couldn't do those things. And we certainly found along the way that we were actually pretty damn good at it, as opposed to some of our heterosexual friends who were always complaining about this and the sleepless nights and how they weren't coping or anything like that. And we often found ourselves saying, but we're not, you know, it is hard, but it's not as though we're not coping. So it was just
the assumption is that my husband as a heterosexual male is going to be more qualified, or is it that it's two males?
Well, I think normally in a heterosexual environment or a heterosexual home, you will find that the female is doing all the, what's the right word here?
Everything.
Nurturing of the child, yeah. Where the husband just sits and does nothing and doesn't know how to change nappies, doesn't know how to feed the child, which I actually think is actually quite wrong, because I have a lot of heterosexual male friends that are actually great dads, or changing nappies, or waking up in the middle of the night to feed their babies and doing it with pleasure. It's not a chore, as I think was the case lots of years ago. I won't even say a few years ago, lots of years ago. And I do understand that even today there are relationships where the male plays, I'm the provider, so you as my wife need to do everything. As long as I give you the money or bring money home, then you do everything else. I know there are relationships like, but there's also a lot of new relationships today where the dads actually play a lot more of an active role. So I think a lot of it is more ignorance than anything else. And of course, you've also got the usual trolls on social media.
Yeah.
You know, commenting with derogatory comments, saying nasty things about us, about our son. And I ignore those, because I just think it shows the type of person that you as an individual are, as opposed to who we are.
Yeah, well, I could think of a lot worse things than being gay, you know. Totally.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, and this is just something that I'm just wondering how to put it, but I found that a lot of people are a lot more derogatory towards gay men than they are against gay females. Like, I've had some very insulting things with people saying to me, oh, like, do you have a gay sister? You know, like when you're out clubbing and stuff and you're young and the guy hits him, he's like, oh, do you have a gay sister? And that's supposed to be a compliment. And I'm like, actually, I do. Like, what the hell are you saying? You know? But I've found with people that I speak to, some people seem to be a lot more accepting of lesbians than men. And I don't know why. And I don't know if you've experienced that or know what I'm talking about.
I think it could be because we've certainly spoken about it. The gay men seem to be a lot more comfortable with their sexuality and are out a lot more. They're not so you know, they don't mind being out and showing, being proud of who they are. Whereas I think gay women or lesbians, they kind of live a quieter life. They don't want to be in the limelight. They don't want to flaunt their lifestyle. And I think to a large extent, a lot of heterosexual men have this fantasy of being with two women. So it has all sorts of sexual connotations as well, and I think that's probably why it is a little more acceptable. Whereas with men, it's bucking the norm. It's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I wonder also if a lot of men, I mean, a lot of people have, even heterosexual people, I believe, have had fantasies or maybe thoughts of exploring the other side. And I think perhaps men that are heterosexual are a little bit more uncomfortable with that than women maybe, or if that makes sense. So maybe that's kind of like a little bit of a fear thing coming out there.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think it's a matter of putting your sexuality out there and acknowledging that you have these fantasies of being with two women, and that's probably why it's more acceptable. Whereas if men are on the down low, even if they are married, but they have this secret life where they are also they also want to be with men, that's hidden. No one's supposed to know about that. And then then it begs a question: are you really gay? Are you bisexual, or are you just do you just have a fetish?
Yeah, I think as society as well, society is a lot more tolerant of two women together than they are of two men. But I think it goes down to what ties up with what you were saying about the whole sexual fantasy of seeing two women together, kind of thing. Whereas with men, it's seen as taboo. How can you like another man? That kind of thing.
I think we're getting kind of off track here, but it's very interesting. I think what's important for me is my sister, as she says, she doesn't identify as gay or bisexual even. She said to me, it's about the person, and they just usually happen to have vaginas. So, but it's not about that. It's just about, she says, I fall in love with a person, and that's that. And I think that's quite beautiful.
No, 100% agree. It's society that labels us, and society constantly wants to put us into boxes. It's like, if I put you in a box, then I know where I stand, that kind of thing. But why do you need to label me? Why don't you just accept the fact that I love another man or I love another woman and move on?
Yeah. One thing that happened to us in school is I actually had a gay Afrikaans teacher, and there were often other parents contacting parents to come and, in a pack to the school because, this man is going to, go for our sons and stuff. Yeah. And I don't understand it because, like, being gay is not being a pedophile. So, does it having a straight male teacher mean he's going to automatically go for the woman, or that a lesbian is going to go for your daughters? Or if she's straight, it's just like, I don't know. I think the mentality that some people have, it just doesn't have any logic, or if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, and I think it does go back to being ignorant and having having that being brought up in a certain way that is how you perceive men to be, and that is how you perceive women to be. And I like the fact that you touched on child molesting and things like that, because I think a lot of people, when they hear of two dads that have a son, that's immediately the first thing that comes to mind. Whereas most cases of child molestation have occurred or happened by their straight friends or brothers or fathers or whatever the case might be. So it's a very kind of warped way of looking at things, and I think that is probably going forward what is going to be the biggest challenge for us. It's kind of surfaced recently, but I suspect as our son gets older and he obviously gets exposed to it a lot more at school, he's asking more questions and things like that, we will have those will be the bigger challenges going forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I think, when it comes to child molestation and that sort of thing, it's really sad. And I think people need to be very aware of the fact that it can happen to anybody, anywhere. And for an example, in my family, my uncle molested two of my cousins. He's not gay. He was an alcoholic. He's now passed away. So for me, like, I don't leave my kids anywhere. It doesn't matter who those people are. I leave my kids with my parents and with their Oma and Opa, my in-laws, and maybe my sisters. And like, that is it. I don't leave my kids anywhere with any family member for any reason. And I'm not ashamed to kind of say, like, I'm sorry, I'm just not, it's not going to happen. So, for anybody watching this, like, you really got to understand that. And, it's got nothing to do with a person's sexual preference or gender identity or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, cool. I think also with when it comes to play dates as well, very similar to what you've just suggested, where, if my son is welcomed at your house, then your son also needs to be welcomed at our house. It's not a case of you're only comfortable with our son coming to you, but you're not comfortable letting your son come and spend the afternoon with our son at our house. So from that angle as well, I think parents need to be a little bit more open-minded, and not just think it's, that if our child comes to your home, then everything's okay. But if my child now comes to your house, then it's not okay. Then something's likely to happen. Why?
It suddenly there's an elevated risk factor.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally get that. My kids can go anywhere, but I go with. I'm the creepy lady that sits in the corner drinking coffee.
Exactly.
And it's got nothing to do with anybody else. It's just got to do with my kids don't go anywhere without me. They're like my little sidekicks. So.
And they're your kids,
Yeah.
So people need to accept, your thinking. But for us, something that we're discussing a lot lately is where the play date's concerned, where parents consistently want you to let our son to go to their homes. But whenever we say, okay, now it's your turn to bring your son, there's always excuses. Yeah. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, that must be very painful. Yeah, for your son as well, because at 8 years old, they're sharp, eh?
Oh, yeah.
They pick up on these things. So maybe we can just head on to the next item, which is how, there's obviously going to be a lot of negativity. So, we are adults. We can easily bat that off. But how do you help your son to navigate that negativity?
I think open communication, open discussions, not hiding anything from him, explaining situations to him in a way that he understands what's actually going on. Case in point, what we were discussing shortly just now regarding play dates. One of the questions he asked recently was, why can't I go and sleep over at a friend's house? And I said, well, first your friend's parents need to be comfortable allowing him to be here in your own home without them. And then we'll consider that. Because, and I gave the example where we allow you to go to his house and play without us being there. So that should be reciprocated. It should work both ways. And then also empowering him in advance to the fact that he has two dads and that there's nothing wrong with that. And just because he has two dads that live with him, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have a mother either. Because without the mother, he would not exist. So we try and speak to him about these things in advance, ahead of time, so that when it happens at school, when we are not there, he's already empowered to deal with those kind of questions, those kind of scenarios. You're going to add on?
And I think we also try and handle these issues age appropriately. So up until about a year or so ago, it was all about him having two dads and two dads that love one another, and that's just how our family is made up. But then I'd say in the last year or so, we've introduced the word gay as another way of describing us. And I've also picked up that he is starting to use that as well. So I think obviously it's coming through from school. Other kids in the class are picking that up from their parents. And they're obviously noticing people, in social settings, at restaurants, movies, and things like that. And they're asking questions, and the parents are saying, "Oh, well, that couple is gay, or those people are gay." So we've got to we address it age appropriately. We constantly adapt. But as Emmanuel said, I think the important thing for us is we always empower him. We don't hide anything from the get-go. as the minute he's been able to understand and put two and two together and ask questions. We've never hidden anything. We've never hidden the fact that he has a mother. He was adopted, so that's something else that also comes up, his adoption. So it's about empowering him and just making him feel comfortable and loved, and in an environment where he's able to answer those questions confidently and stand up for himself. He doesn't. We also teach him that he's not lesser of a person than anyone else simply because he has two dads, and other families come from an environment where there's a mom and a father. So it's about normalizing the situation as much as we can.
Yeah. So, out of interest, how old was he when you adopted him?
He was 2 months.
So from a baby.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been through it all. So teaching fever, that sleepless nights, teaching him how to sleep through the night, that kind of thing. So we've done it all. So the only thing we haven't done is breastfeed him. But even that, if women are honest,
it can be done, I believe.
Yes.
I read this about some guy in some village where his wife died and he breastfed his baby. I don't know if that's like fake news or something, but I read that and I thought, whoa, I could have been let off light. My husband could have done this.
Well, I don't know about that being true, though. I think it's only true, for example, if it's a woman that transitioned to a man.
Or they're wearing.
Or they're wearing. Yeah, but it's not natural. It's not a man, a person, an individual that was born as a man.
Well, I must say, you guys got let off lightly because I found that whole breastfeeding experience quite traumatic and not very enjoyable. In fact, it was terrible. I know some women enjoy it, but for me, it was bad. When my husband took a bottle and fed my baby, I'm like, that's the stuff. It's one of the very, for me, it was like, it was bad. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Because it's interesting because my like I say, my sister's gay, so I'm quite comfortable with it. Now, I don't think about it, when I'm talking to someone, I'm like, my sister's girlfriend, and then people are like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, girlfriend, she's gay, and we just carry on. So my daughter's quite used to that. She's also now just learned the term lesbian. She said to me, what do you mean a lesbian? I said, well, women that like women are lesbians and men that like men are gay. She's like, oh, okay, So I think normalizing it and, keeping it like that, I think the difficulty is when it's outside your home and people are, like my sister said to me, I said to her once and she got very upset by this. Maybe I said it wrong, but my intentions were good. I said, I wish you weren't gay because you just have it so much harder than other people, like, heterosexual people. And I don't like seeing my sister suffer. Like if I walk down the road holding my husband's hand or I give him a kiss on the cheek or no one's going to blink. But when my sister walks down the road holding hands with her girlfriend, she gets stares and people like turn and like double take. And, and it's just so unfair that people that are gay have to have that. You can't just live your life and not worry about anything in the way that I can. And I find that sad.
Yeah. No, but exactly that to your point. It's like, why would someone choose to live that kind of lifestyle where you're constantly being picked on, being made fun of? Why would someone choose that? That's why I don't understand when people say, no, it's a choice. Being gay is a choice. How is it a choice? Why would someone choose to constantly be picked on? That I just don't understand how.
I had the same discussion with my brother-in-law that was recently staying with us on the Easter weekend. And I don't get that. I mean, look, personally, I don't understand gay, as in I look at another woman and I think of, and I'm like, no, don't do that. So, but I have people that I'm attracted to. There's a certain criteria that kind of gets me going. And I look at some men I'm not attracted, and other men I am, and I think it's not a choice for me. You can't say to me, oh, you mustn't like a guy with dark hair, or you mustn't like a man like that. I mean, it's like, no, it's not like I can say, okay, I'm going to choose to like men that look like this. And I don't understand why people can't just understand that. Being attracted to someone, falling in love with someone, it's never a choice. I mean, I've fallen in love with the most inappropriate people. I would not choose that for myself. I've been in abusive relationships. I'm an addict in recovery, so I've been through some hairy relationships and experiences. I didn't choose that for myself. Nobody would choose that. So I mean, that's one aspect that gets my my interest going. I don't understand that one bit.
Yes. Yeah, it's difficult. I think, what makes our situation a little more challenging, and we've developed very thick skins over the last couple of years, is the fact that not only are we gay parents, but we're an interracial couple. And our son, although he's colored, he appears black. So he looks, he's dark skinned and all the rest of it. So when we walk in the street, or we go somewhere, or we in any social setting and people don't know us, we get a lot of really weird stares. You can see people, the brains and the minds are trying to figure out, how does this work? How are these three guys together and they are so totally different? You can't even say the son is from a previous marriage of one of the dads. So we kind of deal with that as well, even though sometimes people don't say anything about it. You pick it up in the way they look at you, the way they treat you. And it's across all demographics. You can't say it's just it's just the white people or the black people, whatever the case might be. It really is across the entire spectrum when people try and understand what's going on here. And I think that's why Emmanuel started the blog, to try and break those barriers down and help other people navigate their way through this kind of quagmire of what how a society expects you to be and live your life.
Yeah, well, that's ultimately why I chose you. You guys are like the ultimate modern family. So it's a great live video to do and to, discuss with people. I'm wondering now, what advice do you have for gay couples that are wanting to start a family? Because, I mean, there's adoption, there's surrogacy, there's all sorts of options.
Yeah. I love this question because it's not a case of just, I want to be a parent. So this is where you must go, that kind of thing. I think before a gay couple decides that they want to be a parent, they need to be 100% sure that as a couple, are you doing it together for the right reasons? Do you really want to be parents? Because if you want to be parents, this is a lifelong decision. It's not a case of 6 months down the line, I can't handle the sleepless nights, I can't handle all the crying, so I need to give it back. That's not how it works. So first of all, you need to be over 100% sure that you want to be a parent. Then it comes down to what you were saying, where there's surrogacy, there's adoption, there's fostering. There's different ways that you can become parents. And it's just this, financially, you need to see where you stand and which route is actually ideal for you. Surrogacy is not cheap. So if you're going to go down that road, make sure you've got the finances. Adoption. There are so many kids needing homes out there. Why not open up your home to a child that needs a love? All kids need is love. So why not open your home to, if you want to be a parent, why don't you do that? Or alternatively, start off fostering. Fostering a child and see whether this is something a journey that you want to embark on. Do you really want to be a dad? Do you really want to be a mom? If yes, if after 12 months you're enjoying it, then progress to the next level, which is adoption. So before you go on this journey, my advice to you would be 100% sure that you want to be a parent, because it is not a baby or a child is not something that you give back when things aren't going the way you thought you had pictured in your head parenting is like. It's for life. And you got to put that child first. Not you, not your needs, that child's needs first. So if it is something that you want, then embark. Just share love with that child. That's all they need. Love, 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 love.
Manni, I love what you've said there. And I mean, I want to highlight something that this is not just for gay parents. Hello. This is for everybody. And what you've said now, like for me, I met my husband, boom, 3 months later, I'm 4 weeks pregnant. Through the pill, congratulations, you're going to be a parent. So I think that happens to a lot of heterosexual people. But what I'm hearing now is that you get judged for being gay and for being gay parents, and you've got all the stigma surrounding you. Yet you fought to become a family. You really, really wanted that, and you fought for it. So, I mean, people put all the stigma around you, and I look at it and I think, well, you're probably really, really good parents because you so badly wanted it, and you went through all of that, and you appreciate it probably more than I do. I didn't appreciate it very much in the beginning when I was vomiting and pregnant in a new relationship and in a long distance relationship as well. So it's a very conscious thing that you did. And, I mean, you can be heterosexual and consciously decide, I'm now going to start a family. And as a female, you can go start taking your folic acid, and you can chart your menstrual cycle and your fertile dates and all of that. But it's very different to what you did. You consciously went out there and actually fought to be a parent and fought the stigma. And I think what also came up for me now, as gay men, it's harder for you to start a family because as lesbians, you've got 2 wombs. You just need the sperm, and that's pretty easy to come by.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds really bad.
Yes.
Okay, this is the parenting thing. I'm going to pick. Okay, scrap that. I think that sperm would be easier to come by, at a sperm bank or whatever. You could also get somebody to donate. I know someone that, I won't mention who it is because they'll kill me, but I know someone that there was a married couple, and the husband's sister was gay in a relationship, and they wanted babies, and they asked him for the sperm.
Wow.
Which was interesting. So they were going to put his sperm, obviously not into his sister, into the sister's wife. And in that way, it was part of both of them because it wasn't her blood, but it was her brother's. So it was still in the family. So that was quite an interesting way of doing it. But I think, if you're a woman, I think you've got a lot more options, and like I say, you've got 2 wombs. So, and that's a really important part of having a baby, is having a womb.
Correct.
And Lynne, if I can just quickly go back to the adoption process, it's not as easy or as straightforward as it sounds. Everybody might think, they're just going to adopt a kid. But for us, it was an 18-month process. We were put through rigorous, a whole set of hoops we had to jump through in order to qualify to adopt a kid. So, and I think more heterosexual couples should be subject to the same kind of thing to determine whether they are going to be good parents. And just to give you an example, so we had to first of all get police clearance that we weren't on some child criminal register, to make sure that we haven't been registered as pedophiles. We then had to make sure that we had stable income sources, that we were both employed, that we had a house that we could actually provide for the child. We had to have visits by a social worker to make sure that we live in an environment that would be conducive to raising a child. They wanted to meet our friends. They wanted to meet our family. So whilst it's part of the adoption process, it almost seems a little unfair that, other heterosexual couples don't have to go through the same thing. You can just go and have a child, but are you capable of raising a child? Can you provide for them? Are you mentally stable? Are you, all those other kind of hoops that we had to jump through? Everybody should actually be subject to that to make sure that they can look after that child. So that's where the massive disparity is. And whilst we didn't have a problem going through that because we really wanted to have the child, you find a lot of heterosexual couples that just have kids for the sake of having kids. And then how that kind of unravels at the end of the day, because they weren't really prepared to have those children or nurture them or look after them, it then becomes society's problem. And then it becomes an adoption issue or a foster issue, whatever the case might be. So maybe those kind of steps should be in place for all parents. I know it's
well, I totally agree. And, from my side, one of my my biggest things that I'm grateful for is that I was clean and sober and in recovery when I had my baby, when I fell pregnant. I was nearly 2 years clean, and I just look at my children now and I can see, like, if I had fallen pregnant when I was in my active addiction, I don't want to think about it. It just makes me want to vomit. You know, and there are lots. I mean, I can tell you right now, I was in rehab for a full year. And then I actually worked in that rehab as the house manager and lived there with the addicts for another year. And the stories that I've heard, not only from the things that the addicts have done to their own children, but addiction and all of abuse, it's a cycle. It's not like it doesn't come out of nowhere. It's hurt people. So a lot of the addicts that were in the system and in rehab have been abused by someone in their childhood, and then they grew up and they became addicts, and then they do the same thing to their children. And yeah, I can just say, like, I'm just so grateful that I fell pregnant when I was clean. I wasn't that stable, actually, because I was only 2 years clean. I thought I was, but looking back, I can see, like, I wasn't that much of an adult, even though I was 30. But you know, I've grown and I've grown up. My children have helped me grow up and become a better person. But I totally agree with you. I think anybody that wants to have a child should go through like a rigorous screening process, because there's so much abuse and so much ugly stuff that goes on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just from a financial point of view, you know, a lot of parents decide to have kids and they can't really financially support a child. I mean, let's face it, it's expensive nowadays. Yeah. You know, from the nappies to the formula, if you can't breastfeed, to clothes, they grow rapidly, so quickly. I mean, clothes and shoes and everything else, that was probably our biggest, you know, cost item initially. So those are things that you need to consider, which you don't always think about when you do decide to have kids.
Yeah, and that seems expensive, and then they start school.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my biggest expense every month is school fees. Yeah, and it's like mind blowing. I always used to look at my mom and think, why are you always in ratty clothes? And why are you always like, don't buy anything for yourself? And you don't. My daughter said to me, she says, Mommy, you never buy anything for yourself. Why? I said, well, there's nothing left. I don't have any money for myself, you know. My mother-in-law gives me her second-hand clothes. And I'm like grateful. So yeah, totally. I mean, parenting, it's a huge expense. And I just want to have a look here. I think is there any other advice you have for gay couples on that topic? Once you start,
just enjoy the experience. Once you have decided to become a parent and you've gone through the adoption process and your child has been placed, enjoy it. Just give that child all the love and more, kind of thing. That's all they want. It's just love, to be taken care of, to be supported, to have someone that they can come to and chat to about what they're going through at school, going through it, you know, through life. And just remember, if you do go through the adoption process, that child will, throughout their life, always have a little bit of a feeling of rejection. Hence why, please love that child. If you are going to adopt, remember they've been rejected once already. So don't reject them a second time. Just love them. That would be my advice to,
I think, and all parents, just love them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think from my side as well, I think something that's really helped us bond with our son is we've really made a very conscious effort to become his best friend. We don't force it on him, but we spend a lot of time together. We go to, you know, we play sport together, we train together, we do activities together, we read together. He's got his friends, he's got his time with his mates, and he goes to school and all the rest of it. But I think we've tried to create a really safe sanctuary for him. So when he does have those moments, when he does have those times when people bully him or have something negative to say, he knows that he's got a safe space at home, and he doesn't you know, shut down and not talk about it. We found that he is quite open, and he raises issues pretty quickly when somebody has said something to him. Especially the fact that he's got two dads, and the one is peach and the one is brown. So those kind of questions get asked of him a lot, and then he comes to us for reference, and how does he handle it, and how does he address those questions. So I think the fact that we are open about those things will only help him in the long term. So that's I think that's the advice. I think, become your child's best friend, and work really hard at. Don't let him see you as their father. Obviously, there's got to be that father-son relationship. If you really want to get him to open up to you, become his best friend or her best friend.
I love that. I really love that. And I think that's something that I've been trying to get going with my kids, is that closeness and that trust. There's been times my daughter's done something she perhaps shouldn't have done, and then she gets all nervous and worried about talking to me. And I've said to her straight, I've said, I might not like what you've done, but I'm never going to stop loving you. And no matter what you've done, I'm on your side. Me and your papa are the people that are on your side. It doesn't matter what you've done. We're going to love you. We're going to fight for you. We will support you. We will, whatever we have to do to make sure everything's okay. And I think from my side, growing up and going off the rails at 14 years old in a very bad way, I don't know what happened, but for some reason, I thought my mom was the enemy. And I rebelled. I'm sorry, mommy. I was like, I can just tell you, the most awful, terrible, horrific child ever. And my mom is amazing. And she's the reason why I'm still alive today and why I'm clean. But going through those teenage years, I just thought that she was the enemy and I couldn't speak to her about anything. And clearly I was absolutely delusional, because I look back now and my mom's the person I phone now for support with my recovery. She's an absolute rock, and she always has been. I think maybe she just didn't quite know what to do with me at the time, but that's not a fault of hers. But now, with me growing up with that knowledge, I make a point all the time of stressing to my children that it doesn't matter what happens. I am there for you no matter what. You can do anything and I will still be there. So I love what you're saying, that, you need to make it that your child, if he has something, he or she has a problem, they go to you and they get that support and that love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I think, just looking at, I would say, I saw a comment here from, I think it's Nadine Roberts and Nklankla. They both touch about the same thing, where all a child needs is a safe place, that they're going to be feeling loved,
you like that?
Supported. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're all about. Exactly. That's why it's so important. They need to feel that this home, if I come here, I'm safe. And that, as parents, that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. Great point.
Yeah, I think also and this is what I've been saying to my children, is that, my daughter, if you have a girl, oh my word, I don't know, this bitchiness starts so young. There's all these cliques, and this one said that, and that one won't play with this one. I mean, my son, if they're upset with each other, they just give each other a clap and then they carry on playing soccer. But these girls, I don't even know what to do with it. But she gets very caught up in it and she gets very upset. And then I get upset. But what I'm trying to stress to my children is, we are a family. Mommy, daddy, 2 children. This is our world.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is our bubble. And outside of this bubble, nothing else matters as long as we are okay here. And then just outside that bubble, we've got Oma and Opa and Granny and Grandpa and these, and that's our outer bubble. And then, and I said, just make sure that everything in here is good and strong. 100%. And I think that really is the most important thing. And that's what I'm, trying to teach my children. And I think that's what you're trying to get across here as well, is that, this is the family, this is where we're close, and then make sure everything's good in here, and then kind of prepare them for the outside world. And, I think what you guys have got is beautiful. I mean, you've got your challenges. I've certainly got my challenges as well. They're just different. Maybe yours are a little more noticeable on the outside. I've got a lot of, I have no shortage of mental health difficulties. It's like this, so maybe that people don't really see that on the outside, but I have a lot of internal things that I've got to kind of keep steady to keep myself sane, and in turn my children safe and happy and all of that. But so everybody has their struggles, but we all have to work on the same rules and the same basis.
Correct.
Yeah. Just want to have a look here.
There's another one. Sorry, Lynn.
Can you put the comments up? If you hover your mouse over the comments, is there a plus button with a show?
No, but there's a comment from Christelle Barrington. She asks, does it make a difference if you are a married gay couple or not in order to adopt? No, you don't have to be married to adopt. You can adopt as a single person. So if parenting is what you want to do as an individual and you're not necessarily married, you're not in a relationship, but you want to become a mom or a dad, go ahead and adopt. They don't discriminate on your marital status.
Cool. I've got another one here. How do I pronounce that? Nklankla. Is that right?
Yeah.
Her brother's gay and her parents love him and accept him. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and like I can just speak from my personal experience that like I say, we've got my mom's brother is gay. So when my sister came out to me, first I had a bit of a giggle, I will admit, because I started laughing because I'm like, oh, click, 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 oh, and I'm like, I don't know why I didn't spot this sooner. And then when my older sister was told, she goes, yeah, I figured as much years ago. And I'm like, okay, so I'm the dumb one. And then when my parents found out, they pretty much took it in their stride. So my sister had I think in comparison to a lot of people, a pretty smooth ride, but it wasn't smooth. Hey, it was bumpy as hell. She went to the Triangle Project in Cape Town, and they help homosexual people kind of, I don't know what they do there, but that helped her quite a bit. And we had challenges as well, like where some of our family members would not introduce her wife as her wife, or even her partner. This is her friend,
Yeah.
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 So, there's a lot of stuff that really, really stings. And this was just, and like I say, there wasn't any huge hurdles outside. It was pretty much taken in our stride, like to say. So I think it's a big thing. Ooh, here's a big one. Nomzamo. Yeah, there is totally. That was just on that moms are natural caregivers compared to dads, and I don't actually believe that's true. I just believe it's the way that society has gone about things, that women used to be at home with the children and the men were at work. I mean, then clearly they're going to be, more of a caregiver than the man. But I think, if you've got a man that has a baby, say the mother's passed away or left or whatever, he's going to be the caregiver. It's got nothing to do with gender. It's
Correct.
just got to do with opportunity.
Correct.
Then I must say, and we're seeing quite a bit of change, and probably over the last couple of years, where corporates are also getting more used to the idea that there are same-sex households, and I think this is where diversity and inclusion in the corporate space is starting to play a role. You're getting paternity leave now, which is very similar to your maternity leave. There's education within the corporate space, and a lot of the large corporates have got programs that they run where they try and normalize the situation as much as possible for homosexual employees. So it's encouraging to see these kind of things coming out in the open. And I just think going forward, it'll make the journey for homosexual couples a lot easier, and their families as well. So it's nice just to start seeing that transition come about.
Yeah, totally. I'm all for that, and I do think there has been a lot of change. Like my uncle, he's Catholic, and I can't remember what he does, but he's fighting the good fight on behalf of gay Catholics. He's on Twitter, and I always see his comments and stuff. So, and I think religion also plays has a huge role to play when it comes to homosexuality. There's lots of stuff I've seen that's been rather upsetting. So, to put it mildly.
Linda's also got a question there. How long did it take you to adopt a child? Linda, for us, it took 18 months, but it can be longer in some instances. It all depends on how quickly they're able to match you with a child that suits you as an individual or as a couple. So it can take 6 months, it can take 3 months, it can take a week in some instances, but it can also be quite a lengthy process. I'm aware of couples that have been on the waiting list for 7 years. So it's a spectrum.
I think it also depends on which process you choose. If you work through a private agency and you've got very specific requirements, then that journey can be a little longer. But if you want to go to social welfare and adopt a child, it's a lot easier and a lot quicker. And I think that's probably a good route to follow, because there are so many kids out there that need homes. That'll obviously happen a lot quicker. But if you've got specific requirements in terms of age, sex, race, whatever the case might be, and you are working through an agency that'll help you through that screening process, because they've obviously got parents or individuals that have signed up, that they know they are not going to keep their children, they are going to give them up for adoption, then that will take a bit longer. And it'll obviously be a little more costly.
Yeah.
I have a question as well, Darren. You mentioned the process you go through for adoption, and you mentioned that you had to be screened to see if you are on the paedophile register and all of those things. Is the process the same for gay couples as it is for heterosexual couples?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I was just wondering about that, like if there was any sort of...
No. There's no discrimination. No. It's exactly the same.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Zanande. She signed up for a newborn for 1 year, but they're not getting emails.
Yeah, they've just got to keep contacting the agency that they're working through, and keep hounding them every week. Phone and find out, please share an update. Where are we? You've just got to keep phoning them. That's how it works. And that's just the beginning, because once the baby's placed, then starts the hard work, because now you've got the whole process of the changing the birth certificate to replace the birth parents with the adoptive parents' details, new name, new ID number, etc.
Sure. Yeah, I've got friends that adopted two children, and they said it was quite the process that they went through as well. And they're heterosexual. They've got a daughter and a son. So, and we've got Zamo. Yeah, look, I think this certainly is not exclusive only to gay couples. In fact, my sister and her wife, they are now divorced, and my sister didn't want to have children, but her wife did, and there was quite a lot of friction there. And they're actually now divorced, and she is with a male farmer living somewhere with 3 kids in Hermanus. So, I think, look, I think having children causes a lot of conflict in a lot of relationships. Some people want more, some people don't want any, and there's going to be tiffs. And I think the thing is that it's such a serious commitment. I mean, it's more of a commitment than buying a house. It's a life that you are.
It's really a point where I said you need to be 100% sure you want to become a parent before you embark on that journey. I mean, with our case, I wanted to be a father from the word go. With Darren, not so much, but it was a case of, this is the journey I want to go on, either with you or without you. Fortunately,
Fortunately, doing it together. Yeah. Awesome. We have to.
I wouldn't want it any other way. It's it really is the best thing ever.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I didn't make any choices myself. I've got a loop baby and a pill baby. In fact, I even have my tubes cut when my son was born, and I had an ectopic pregnancy after that. And I have one cut tube left, and I've got the Mirena. And I'm hoping that's I'm praying for menopause. I didn't make any choices, but still, it's been the most beautiful and amazing experience myself. I've got to say, even, I've done a lot of mental health work and a lot of, just working on myself for the last, 15 years or so. But being a parent has definitely made me put on my big girl panties in a big way. Compared to everything else, it's made me kind of stay on the straight and narrow and do the right thing. And I've learned and I've grown so much being a parent. So it's been amazing. The boys have to go.
Yes.
So I'm going to pick a winner for the voucher, and I'm going to go with Zamo.
Yeah.
Am I pronouncing it right? Cool. I'm going to inbox you on Facebook. I'll leave a comment, or you can send me an email to lynne@kaboutjie.com to claim your prize, and I'll be in contact with you a bit later. Darren and Manni, thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. I really recommend that everybody goes over to your Instagram channel and checks out all your beautiful pictures. You can see clearly there all the love and how a family is supposed to be. So if anybody's got any concerns about gay parenting, go and look at the love. The proof is there.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Lynne, for having us. Thanks to everybody as well for your comments and all the love that you showed in the comments. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Lynne. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Have a great Friday, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.